Development strategies in India. In this session, we are going to discuss different type of development strategies that India has adopted over the last years. First, we will see what is meant by development strategy. You know that development strategy is a very deliberate attempt by the government to realize certain objectives of economic development of a country. They have different objectives like addressing the problem of poverty, unemployment, growing the level of investment, accelerating the GDP growth rate of a country. I like that we have a lot of objectives of economic development. So to realize or to materialize such objectives, we need to plan in advance. So the sum total of planning or sum total of the deliberate attempts which we make to materialize these objectives could be considered as a development strategy. Every country has a development strategy. And means each point of its time it has a development strategy. For example, we had a development strategy in 1956, 1991 we had another development strategy. China has had its own development strategies throughout its history. So every country has a development strategy of its own. Often, the development strategy is designed on the basis of certain theories. For example, our development strategies have been evolved on the basis of certain theories, and it may be based on a neoclassical approach or a Keynesian approach. So whatever may be the kind of theories, we say that every development strategy is built on the basis of strong theoretical backgrounds. And India has adopted different type of development strategies, of course. Now, let us see what are the different type of strategies or models which India has followed. First one is, of course, the Mahalanobis strategy of development, which came in 1956. The second is wage good model, and the third is LPG model or liberalization, privatization, and globalization model. And the fourth one is Gandhian model, and the fifth one is PURA model. So let us discuss each one of these models. The first one is, of course, the Mahalanobis model, which came into the planning, means the strategy of our country in 1956. And this model is developed by PC Mahalanobis. And this is often called the heavy industry strategy because this model emphasized heavy industrial development in our country. And this model became the basis of our second five-year plan, which commenced in 1956. And this model gave much encouragement to capital-intensive methods of production. And unfortunately, the model went against the farm sector. It neglected the farm sector, small-scale sector, and cottage industrial sector. And one important criticism that has been leveled against this theory is that this theory didn't make any attempt to tackle the grave realities of our country like poverty and unemployment. At the time of the initiation of the second five-year plan, another model came for discussion before the Planning Commission that is called Wage Good Model. And this model is scripted by two important prominent economists in our country, P.R. Brahmananda and C.N. Vakil. And quite different from the heavy industry model, we see that the Wage Good Model gives much importance to the development of cottage and small-scale industries. And it is, of course, opposite to what Mahalanobis model presents. While Mahalanobis model stresses heavy industrial development, we see the wage model stressing the small-scale and cottage industries. So this model, quite different from the Mahalanobis model, seems to be attempting to tackle the problems of like poverty and unemployment in India. The third model is LPG model or liberalization, privatization, globalization model. And this model actually came up in our country in 1991. And this model was first represented in the parliament by the then finance minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh. This model commenced its operation in 1991, and this became the basis of the neoliberal economic policies. The theoretical background of this model could be seen in the neoclassical ways of development. And this is an IMF World Bank supported model. And this is also known as stabilization cum structural adjustment programs because this actually gives emphasis to two sides of the economy, the supply side and demand side. Supply side programs are known as structural adjustment programs, and demand side programs are known as stabilization programs. So in short, this policy or LPG model is theoretically called stabilization cum structural adjustment programs. And Gandhian model, we know that Gandhi has a lot of things about the development of a country. He visualized the development of India in many ways. He wrote many things about the ways through which an economy could progress, and he also laid down certain conditions for the development of Indian economy. But Gandhi didn't make any clear model of development. But later on, SN Acharya, a follower of Gandhi, developed a model in the name of the Gandhi that has come to be known as Gandhian model. It's a partnership model that treats everyone as equals in a society. It's an all-round model stressing all sectors of an economy. It is a holistic and multidimensional model, and it gives emphasis to national self-reliance. Mahatma Gandhi stood or he held a view that the national self-reliance would be very important. At the same time, villages should become self-sufficient in the production of basic commodities. So the Gandhian model means that gives emphasis to the village economies. The last one is the PURA model, providing urban amenities in rural areas. And this model was actually, it was the idea of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, the former president of India. And this model actually attempts to stop the movement of the people from rural areas to urban areas. So Abdul Kalam argues that it is better to provide all urban amenities in rural areas so that rural people do not come to the urban areas in search of jobs. So that's why the model itself is known as the provision or providing urban amenities in rural areas. And it's a strategy of rural development in India, and it tackles the problem of migration from rural areas to urban areas, and it treats rural development as corporate social responsibility. So it says that rural development is a responsibility of the corporate sector. So a part of the CSR fund of the corporate sector should be set aside for the development of the rural areas. So these are the important development strategies which India has adopted or India has planned to adopt. The first one is Mahalanobis growth strategy, wage good model, and the Gandhian model, LPG model, and the PURA model.